Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba. But it does contain the unstoppable Exodia!
This scene was imprinted across an entire generation's mind, and it's not hard to see why. With nothing left on his field to protect him from Kaiba's free, virtually invincible blue eyes, it seems Yugi has all but lost the duel, but through the power of the Heart of the Cards, or plot armor, Yugi manages to assemble all 5 pieces of Exodia, thus beating Kaiba and avenging his grandpa's honor. However, following his duel, Yugi loses Exodia and never uses him again. The question is, after such an iconic and badass scene, why did Kazuki Takahashi make Yugi lose Exodia? If we take a look at the number of alternate win conditions that are used in the Yu-Gi-Oh animes, and the characters that use them, we can form an interesting correlation. The Seeker, Adrian Gecko, and Marcel Bonaparte all use Exodia. Yami Bakura uses Destiny Board, Felonious Viper uses Venomaga, Don 1000 uses IC1000, and Quattro uses Gimmick Puppet of Leo. So what do you notice about them? They all are villains. In fact, the trend overwhelmingly leans towards antagonists using alternate win conditions. So why exactly are alternate win conditions seemingly only used by antagonists? Well, from a narrative standpoint, alternate win conditions are inherently cowardly and dishonorable. Normal Yu-Gi-Oh! In the anime consists of a back and forth, where duelists can interact with the opponent by beating over their monsters, in a goal of reducing the opponent's life points to 0. However, if the protagonist has an alternate win condition, this completely changes this dynamic. Now, every duel consists of turns where our protagonist plays solitaire, with little regards to the opponent's board, making the duel feel uninteractive and lose the back and forth of an interesting duel. But let's imagine a scenario where Yugi never lost Exodia. With every duel Yugi would be in, there would be the constant Deus Ex Machina, and that's Exodia, in the background of every episode. This would mean that no matter what, there would be the constant looming presence of a backup winner, removing any narrative tension in the duel, and if by chance in duel Yugi manages to assemble Exodia, the win feels cheap and unearned. Instead of Yugi figuring out a way to defeat the opponent through interactivity and deciphering his win condition, every victory is obtained through the same exact cowardly tactic. We can highlight a really creative way that Yugi manages to win, a moment that would be ruined if Exodia were in play. Take Yugi's duel against Strings and Slifer the Sky Dragon. Here, Yugi opposes the seemingly unstoppable Slifer the Sky Dragon. There seems to be no way out with Marek's unstoppable 5-card combo. Yugi decides to use Brain Control, but not on Slifer, but on Revival Jam. This causes a deck out for Marek, as Revival Jam always returns to the field, and Card of Safe Return causes Marek to draw 3 cards each time this happens, and wins Yugi the duel. Instead of Yugi being backed into the corner with a seemingly unstoppable threat of Slifer, the stakes are lessened, with the viewer asking, why doesn't Yugi just draw Exodia and win? Having Exodia in the deck also presents itself with a contradiction with Yugi's goal of the deck. Despite it being a mess of different archetypes and cards that have very little synergy, this is still a deliberate choice, as the variety of cards allows the writers to give different cards for Yugi to implement in a duel against any number of opponents. The presence of Exodia also means that for Yugi, many of his draws end up being dead, as individually they're all weak monsters with low stats, so for any duel that Yugi has, there's always the repetitive decision of, should I set Exodia as a wall or keep it in my hand? And even then, the set of Exodia cards individually do nothing, which results in dead cards in the hand, which is a problem given that the hand size is already pretty tight, even without Exodia in the Yugi's deck, where each card in the hand is premium real estate to advance the story of the duel, so useless cards in the hand like Exodia need even more broken draw spell cards to mitigate this issue. Every duel is predetermined, where the entire outcome of the duel is mapped from beginning to end, and if you follow along in turn play by play, you would notice that more often than not, each card has a specific narrative purpose. The writers want the duelist to perform a flash play, but they need one extra card? No worries, just add in a top deck Pot of Greed. What if the writers want a cool fake out where we think a protagonist is lost? Well, just add in a Mirror Force. But what does the presence of a piece of Exodia bring? Well, it either falls in 2 categories. Useless fodder trash that has a boring design on the field and used to be destroyed and serves nothing to the narrative of the duel, or a slow march to a random victory for the protagonist that to the viewer will feel unearned, as the skill from the victory basically comes from drawing the right 5 cards. Alternatively, and I would argue much more compellingly, we can also view alternate win conditions as a narrative hurdle for the protagonist to overcome. If Yugi's win condition was to win with Exodia, there would only be so many duels that could revolve around winning with Exodia, and that could be interesting. The reason it works for the first episode is that it is a hype reversal that comes out of nowhere, and fits the themes of the episode, but it works less if every duel is just Yugi stalling to draw all 5 pieces. In fact, we can actually see an example of how much more interesting Exodia is as a card when it is used by the antagonist in Battle City. In Battle City, a rare hunter beats Joey with a power monster that is unknown to Yugi. Yugi then challenges this rare hunter to retrieve red eyes for Joey. However, Joey's not allowed to tell Yugi the rare hunter's deck. This changes the premise of the duel and becomes a puzzle for Yugi to figure out why exactly the rare hunter is playing so weirdly and figure out the secret. It's not until Yugi uses some clever deduction that he realizes that the rare hunter is actually playing Exodia. Now the paradigm of the duel is totally shifted. Instead of the duel being a battle of life points, it now becomes a race against the clock to stop the opponent from activating Exodia, and a battle against the former ally. The reason why this works is that villains, narratively speaking, inherently thrive with alternate win conditions. During the course of a duel, to create tension, it would have to feel like the villain has the upper hand for most of the duel. As such, win conditions can feel like a fun way to create this needed tension, as over the course of the duel, this win condition builds up over time, just like how Destiny board fills up with letters, or how Exodia needs all 5 pieces. It becomes a bigger and bigger threat, making a race against the clock with the stakes set clearly. Can our hero drain the opponent's life to 0 before the opponent can activate their win condition? But that's everything. If you liked the video, remember to tell me some of your favourite alternate win conditions, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content.